Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds and ambassadors everywhere, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing. And yes, I am back. It has been a while. I have been MIA. Okay, I haven't been missing in action, but I have been gone for a while. I've been gone for a minute. Y'all might be wondering, Ambassador, where have you been? Where have you been, Ambassador? Well, for those of you who don't follow me on social media, I really haven't talked about this very much, and this won't be a very long introduction because here we don't do long introductions. But to give you a very brief overview of what life has been like for the last couple months, well, at least since December, day after Christmas, I got fired from my job, and well, much to my surprise. And that kind of threw everything into just a touch of turmoil here at the ambassadorial wing. And went on unemployment, started hunting for a new job, yada, yada, yada. Short version is I am gainfully employed once again. I'm back up and running again. We're getting our feet back underneath us financially. And to quote one of my favorite movies, which is what we talk about here at the Ambassador Wing. We talk movies, we talk streaming series, we talk retro television, all those neat, wonderful, awesome things that we all love and enjoy. There was indeed much rejoicing. Yay! And tonight, we are back alive. It is Saturday night. It is the weekend. I have got a 3-day weekend from work and everything. And well, just to give a very short further overview, you might be asking, well, Ambassador, we knew you were working at Walmart. Yes, I once worked at Walmart, the evil, evil empire known as Walmart. I no longer work there, obviously. What am I doing now? Well, I'm in a brand new field. I'm in a field of of employment I never thought I would actually go into, to be honest with you all. And I am now working in an auto manufacturing plant. And I will be the first to admit it has been a bit of an adjustment. But the pay is better. The hours are different, but better. And I don't have to deal with as much drama. And in that case, there is indeed much rejoicing. But enough on the personal side of things. What are we talking about tonight? Well, if you saw the thumbnail, if you saw my postings on social media, if you caught the notification when I set this stream up yesterday, tonight we are talking James Gunn, specifically James Gunn and the DCU. And if you follow any type of news anywhere, you know that earlier this week, Mr. James Gunn made his announcement about what DC Studios was going to be doing going forward. And tonight we're going to discuss that. I'm going to share my thoughts. I'm going to probably drop the link into the chat so that if anybody else wants to join me later on and everything and share their thoughts on what James Gunn's doing with the DCU, him and Peter Safran, y'all can pop in here, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Twitch, whether you're watching on Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, DM me or something, or put something in the chat and everything saying, hey, I'm watching on Twitter, Ambassador. I'd like to come on. I will send you a link. Be more than happy to. But for a little bit here, I just want to share my thoughts on James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over as heads of DC Studios over at Warner Brothers, or Warner Brothers Discovery, as it is known now. And you might be asking, well, Ambassador, you're a Marvel guy. Yes, I am a Marvel guy. I like Marvel. I grew up on Marvel. But I am first and foremost a movie fan. And yes, there have been DC movies that I have enjoyed. There have been movies based on DC properties, DC characters that I have enjoyed, regardless of the director who did them or any supposed shenanigans that they may or may not. That includes James Gunn. But I watched Gunn's announcement back on the 31st, and I was like, okay. And I did put a posting out on my Twitter and everything for those of you who follow me on Twitter. I didn't put anything on Instagram. That's a different story. Well, not a different story. It's just different format and everything. You can talk and type more on Twitter than you can on Instagram, really. I guess I could have done a short video or whatever. But I listened to what Gunn had to say, and honestly, there were some things in there that I was very much interested in. There were some things that I wasn't so much interested in. I mean, because like I said, I am first and foremost a Marvel guy. And I do want to say hello to chat whether you're watching, I can mention if you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. Good evening, one and all. Good to see you all. And Darian Wagner, good to see you. Darian, it's been a while. Hope you're doing fine, buddy. And Darian says, I found Gunn's plans underwhelming. Okay, well, there were some things on his agenda and everything. The announcement that he made and everything. The him and Peter Safran had put together that I wasn't terribly interested in, but there were some things that I very much was interested in. And tonight, for a little bit here, I'm going to share my thoughts on those particular announcements. And I do have. Give me just a minute. I got to open one more tab. Just bear with me for a minute, guys and gals. Because I've got that image in here. I just got to pull it up. Thanks to Madam Ambassador. She was kind enough to send me the picture of the briefing or whatever you want to call it, or press announcement. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Never mind. Because I work better with a visual aid. I often do. Come on. Where are you? Come on. Open up. I know you can do it. Oh, quit being a slowpoke. All right. Well, we'll wait. We'll give that a minute to do its thing. But, for those of you who know, I like James Gunn. He is a director that I follow rather vigorously. He is rather closely. And he is a director who's done some movies that I've really enjoyed. I mean, obviously, Guardians comes to mind. Guardians of the Galaxy Volumes 1 and 2. I very much, obviously, love those movies. And, he did the Suicide Squad movie, the one that came out a couple of years ago with Idris Elba and Margot Robbie and all them. And I never saw the other version just because it didn't appeal to me. But, I wanted to support James Gunn. No, I don't stand with James Gunn, but I did want to support James Gunn because he is a director that really appeals to me, for lack of a better term. And he has done stuff in his career and everything. Granted, he hasn't had as long a career as some other directors, but he's been working for quite a while and everything in various mediums and everything. Most obviously, the MCU is one of them. He actually did a little film and everything. It was like one of his very first major studio films that I really enjoyed. And that was a little film called Slither, a very low budget, B campy horror sci-fi esque type film. Excuse me, one minute, guys. Don't you hate when you feel like you're getting ready to sneeze and then it just backs up on you? I just hate that. Anyway, but it's when I listened to Gunn's pitch, I was like, okay, this is stuff that I can get invested in. Not everything, but there were several things that was like that I feel like I could watch. Anything and the stuff that piqued my interest because there are some characters in here that I was familiar with, obviously Batman and Superman and so on, and Wonder Woman. But there were some other projects that I had never heard of. You know what? I know what I can pull up that'll refresh my memory. My Twitter. Duh. Because that gave me the list of stuff that I said, hey, I'm actually interested in this. Twitter can sometimes be a wonderful tool when used properly and not when you're being an asshole. Sorry, said that out loud. Okay, I'm not sorry I said it out loud. But I do want to say to the chat also, Ferris of Ferris Geeks World. Ferris, is good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you hopping in tonight. And let's see what you got to say, pal. Come on, get back over here to your right. What's up, Ambassador? After seeing the slate that was revealed, I'm only hyped for the Brave and Bold and Lanterns. You and I are Batman fans. I've been dying to see another Batman and Robin movie. Yeah, I am very much interested in the Brave and Bold. And, I've listened to some contemporaries, some fellow YouTubers giving their thoughts on it. And I can't say that I see things the same way as they do. I mean, obviously, if we all saw things the same way, YouTube would be boring as hell. Just saying. But Okay. Oh. Okay, well, people ask and okay. Um, do you those of you that are watching on Twitter and everything, I just got your message and I will send you the link here shortly and everything. Give me about 10 minutes and everything to kind of get my thoughts out there and then I'll start letting people in. So if you're still for those of you that are watching on Twitter, I do see you, I do hear you, I did get your DM. I'll let y'all on shortly. I want at least like 10, 15 minutes to get my thoughts out here on this whole shooting match. Okay, where are you? Where's that? Where'd I put it? I know it's on here. Come on. That's not the one. Where's mine? There we go. Okay. Here's my short list of the future DCU slate. Lanterns, Batman Brave and the Bold, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Superman Legacies, The Authority, and Swamp Thing. Those are the ones that really piqued my interest. Everything. And, here's the thing. This is what I like about what Gunn and Safran are doing. They're they're casting a wide net, trying to not appeal, but trying to see what's going to hit and what's potentially not going to work for the DCU going forward. And that for me is that's the really interesting thing about starting up a new project like this. I mean, essentially, Warner Brothers, David Zaslav, and all of them said, okay, we got to have somebody to head up the studio. We got to have somebody to come in and take on DC and really build it out the way it should have been done from the get go. And that's a daunting task. And in the weeks following the announcement that James Gunn and Peter Safran were going to be the heads at DC Studios, I saw a lot of reaction. Now, I myself, like I've already said, I like James Gunn. I like his directing style. I like his writing style. I like how he crafts his stories. I like how he crafts his characters in his movies. And I like the fact also that he took a lot of personal ownership and everything, but also collective ownership for this new project for the DCU. Not to be obviously confused with the MCU, but it's all about branding. It's all about marketing. And I get that. And I am very much intrigued because I have said for a very long time, for those of you who follow me, for those of you who have talked to me both publicly and privately, I've always said competition is a good thing. I want to see DC compete with the Marvel. I want to see the DCU compete with the MCU. And I want to see these two studios really bring us some kick ass content, some good movies, some good video games, some good television series, some good streaming series, and so on. I want that. Why? Because I want to see good content. I want to see good films. I grew up on some great films, some great film franchises, as you all have as well. And you know, I think Gunn and Safran can do this. Now, have they got an uphill battle ahead of them? Yeah, they do, because they've also got to deal with a lot of the baggage from the previous runners of DC Studios, and they've got a lot of stuff that they're going to have to figure out what they're going to keep and what they're going to pitch. Now, in terms of the films that are going to be coming out over the next few months of 2023, you've got The Flash. Do not care. Do not give a rat's patootie about The Flash. You got Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Yes, I want to see Shazam, Fury of the Gods. You've got Aquaman 2 or Aquaman the Forgotten Kingdom. Yes, cannot go wrong with Jason Momoa. And I have heard, and I'm very happy to hear that they did remove Amber Heard from Aquaman 2. Don't need that baggage. There was something else DC related that's supposed to come out this year, but I can't remember for the life of me what it is. Let's see. It was Shazam. It was Joker 2. I think comes out this year. I'm pretty sure the follow up to the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix and everything came out back in I think 2020. I'm gonna wait and see on that one. I'll probably go see it in theaters when it comes out, but I'm not. I'm on the fence about Joker 2. I'm not gonna lie, but as far as um, Shazam and Aquaman, oh yeah, I'm gonna be there first day or at least close to first week as I can to see those two because I loved the first Shazam. Love that movie. If you want to check out my review, I did a review of it back a couple of years ago. That and Aquaman as well. Actually, I did a review of all of those three films of Aquaman, Shazam, and Joker. And everything. Good stream. Really enjoyed it and everything. Had a really good panel that night. And if you want to check that out, it is on the DC and Marvel playlist. So plugging some of my old content. So, but you know, just to kind of give some thoughts to what I have seen in terms of reaction to the announcements that both Gunn and Safran were brought on board, and also Gunn's announcement this week. Everything are on the 31st. I'm not going to go personal. I'm not going to attack anybody per se. But I am going to say this much. Some of y'all need to get your priorities in line. These are movies. These are video games. These are TV shows. They are not the be-all, end-all of your life. Or at least they should not be. I hope. I'm not trying to be rude and I'm not trying to be condescending, but some of y'all acting like a bunch of damn fools out there. Just saying. I've seen some really dumb takes. I've heard some really dumb comments made. And I've heard some really rational, level-headed, and, common sense takes as well. But some of the stuff that I have heard and some of the stuff I have read on like social media, like on Twitter and so on, in regards to James Gunn's announcement, both when he came on board and now that he's released what their future plans are, y'all are just. And to the chat. And to the chat, my good friend, my fellow ambassador, as is Ferris and Darren as well, Mr. Zach Leary. Zach, good to see you, buddy. And I'll be sending you that link here in just a minute, bud. So just give me a few more minutes. Star Wars is not a religion. No. But it is a way of life. But, in terms of these projects that I've already listed, they intrigue me because of the characters that are involved in them. Now, I've never heard of the Authority, but just the title says, and some of the artwork that they showed, I was like, this could have the potential to be something interesting. I am going to go do some research. I meant to do some research today, but I was kind of lazy today, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. We had our first full week at work and everything. Well, my first full week at work at my new job. It is a bit of an adjustment and everything because, like I said, different job, different atmosphere. Not that it's a bad atmosphere per se, just doing different stuff. And the body needs to recharge. I'm not as young a man as I used to be. I wish I was, believe me. But, Batman the Brave and the Bold. Zach will tell you, Ferris will tell you, Darren will probably tell you, and those of you that are watching as well. I love Batman. I love Batman when he was campy, and I love Batman when he was dark and serious. But not Batfleck. Not Batfleck. Sorry. I don't hate Ben Affleck. I actually like Ben Affleck as a director or as an actor. But I did not like Batfleck. Just too disjointed in his portrayal. One minute he's like, I hate everything. Next minute he's saying, Faith, Alfred, faith. I'm like, okay, which is it? You're going to give me whiplash. But, the lanterns, and yes, I will say this right here and now. I enjoyed Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern back in 2011. Yes, burn me as a heretic. Burn me as a absolute heretic. I liked Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern. I thought it was fun. I thought it was goofy. I thought it was silly. I thought it was entertaining. But I'm interested to see this new series. And I'm actually kind of glad that it is a series. It's going to be like a detective series or anything where you've got Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan as the two lanterns on Earth. I like that dynamic. That is a cool, interesting dynamic for those characters. I do like the idea of a different take on Supergirl. Now I know the history for Supergirl in terms of theatrical and television has not been that great. I will say it. The 1980s Supergirl movie is a guilty pleasure for me. I remember going to see it when I was a kid, and I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it's got Peter freaking O'Toole, one of my favorite actors from across the pond. Love Peter O'Toole. Loved him in Supergirl. Loved him in Phantoms. Act like you were the bum at Phantom Show. You get that reference, you get a gold star on the cookie. And I am, you all know as well, I'm not the biggest Superman fan. Never really have been. I like the character. I don't hate the character, but there's only like 2, maybe 3 Superman films that I ever really fully enjoyed watching all the way through. That was, of course, Superman 1 and Superman 2 with the late great Christopher Reeves, and of course, Man of Steel. I enjoyed Man of Steel. And I think it was a different take. It had a different aesthetic. Granted, it was a Zack Snyder film and everything, so it was going to have a different aesthetic. But you look at Christopher Reeve's portrayal and you look at Henry Cavill's portrayal, very dissimilar as could be. But that's not a bad thing. But there's always going to be that special place for Christopher Reeve's Superman in my life. I think particularly the first 2 movies. I never saw Superman 3 and I never saw Superman 4. But the first 2, those for me are like the holy grail. Those are like the creme de la creme, the top of Olympus, best Superman films. So when Gunn made his announcement about this new Superman project, I was like, okay, this is Clark or Cal trying to deal with his 2 heritages. His heritage as being raised by the Kents and his heritage as a Kryptonian. We got a touch of that in Man of Steel, but it never got really fully explored, I felt, enough. So, and, most of you know, I am an adoptee. Superman is an adoptee. And I can relate to the character from that perspective. And it is really refreshing to see a story that's going to deal with him trying to marry the 2 sides of his life together. Not the life of Kal-El and Clark and Lois Lane and all that, but who is this man? Who is Clark Kent? Who is Kal-El of Krypton? And I think that's a story that I think a lot of people can potentially really chew on and enjoy. So, but I've kind of rambled. Okay, I haven't rambled, but I've kind of gotten my thoughts out there initially, and I said I'm going to put the link out there. So give me a submit, guys and gals, and I'm going to drop the link here in the chat for those of you that are here. Anything on YouTube, and you all can hop on in here and we can chew the fat on this whole thing that is James Gunn and the DCU. Give me a minute to get it in there. Okay. Come on, baby. Work with me here. That's what she said. Sorry. Bad joke. I know. All right. Chats, links in the chat, guys and gals. Hop on in here. Let's talk some DCU until you all start getting in here. Um, let's read a couple comments here. Ferris, I'm glad DC is utilizing the video game platform to make games and make a game that makes games that really tie in with the movies. Yes, I haven't played a movie based video game in a very long time, Ferris. The last movie based video game I played was, oh good grief, the video game tie-in for Revenge of the Sith. Dang, that's a long time ago. That's 2005, I think. So, and what else you got to say here, Ferris? But yeah, I have to agree with you, Ferris. I'm interested. I like a good video game tie-in for a movie, as long as it's not just a cash grab. If you give us a compelling story, if you give us a good journey, then I am all in. But if it's just a cash grab, then I'm not going to care. So, and let's see. Ferris, Superman has been dirty in the beginning during the Reeves era. Glad that you're not watching the third and fourth movies. I've heard enough bad stuff about the third and fourth movies. I was like, I'm going to avoid those like the plague. So, and I've got I'll see your comment there in just a minute, Ferris. But I want to give a very warm welcome to a longtime friend, a fellow ambassador, a man amongst men, a jack of all trades, a master of many. You know him, you love him, my friend, your friend, Mr. Zach Clary.
What's
Hey,
up,
Zach.
man?
Good to see you, pal.
Likewise. How's it going?
Going good. Got my cherry Dr. Pepper in my Drogon cup, and there's my true choice.
Well, you were on point, man. I thought that was pretty good. Spot on.
Thank you. Well, I heard some of what you were talking about over on Tim's channel the other night and everything. So, what are your thoughts? Anything I said, or anything that you've had time to reflect on since the other night?
Well, a few things you've said are, taken right out of my brain. Like some people take this stuff too seriously. It's like, of course. So there's that. I mean, despite everything, do I really care? Yes, but yes and no at the same time. I mean,
Yeah.
Most of us have got our own shit going on, so I'm not about to take up a picket line outside of DC studios. I can tell you that, but it's fun. I mean, as long as it's fun, then it's all good. So, yeah, not a fan of James Gunn, to be honest with you. You mentioned Slither, which is a really fun movie with
yes.
God, what's that guy's name?
Nathan. It stars Nathan Fillion and Michael Rooker.
Okay, Michael Rooker. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, that's a really fun movie. James Gunn, dude, he's just he's kind of an acquired taste for me.
And that's true for a lot of directors. I mean, some people, they're gonna be like, you don't like Spielberg? How can you not like Spielberg? What's wrong with you? Or you don't like Kubrick or Kubrick or whatever you want to call him? And other people are like, I love Kubrick. He is my muse. He is my spirit animal. And other people like, didn't the last movie he do kind of bomb and people didn't understand it and had Tom Hanks in a really weird masked orgy and Lily Sobieski?
Yeah, it was a weird one.
I remember going to see I Wide Shut with some friends and everything, and I was like, I paid money to watch this. Why?
So it was just as bad back then as it is now.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, I said to myself, let me see what's going on. I checked it out probably 6 months ago. I couldn't even watch it, man.
The thing that really threw me out of it was the score and that really weird piano score that they had for the movie. And I was like, this is getting on my nerves. I'm like, Kubrick did one of the greatest, honestly, in my opinion, one of my top 20 all-time favorite films, of course, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and has an absolutely gorgeous and rapturing score. And then he does Eyes Wide Shut, and I'm like, Stanley, what are you doing? Why did you put this score to this movie?
Well, I mean, wasn't he died before they officially released the film, so we're not entirely
Mm,
sure, but just based on
yeah,
what we got, I could tell it was not going to be a masterpiece. You know,
no. But, as you were saying, Gunn is an acquired taste. For some people, he's going to be a real he. But here's the thing: he is taking on the role of a studio head, but also as a creative as well. That's not going to be easy. Now, Grant, he's got this other guy working with him, Peter Safran, and I actually did some homework on him and everything. I pulled up his IMDb and a few other things, and I noticed a common thread with this Peter Safran guy. He is a producer, an executive producer as well. But I looked at a lot of the films that he has produced, and one thing stuck out to me. The majority of them are low budget horror films. Now, that's not to say that they're bad, but it tells me that Warner Brothers and DC are wanting to stay within a budget because I think most people have heard WB, they're not going to sink, but they're not in the greatest shape financially either. So I think pairing two people like Safran and Gunn together is honestly a step in the right direction, both financially and creatively. Now, if Gunn's not your taste, okay, that's fine. I get that and everything. But I think this opening salvo of projects that they have announced, at least theatrically and for streaming, there's something there for everybody, and I think that's a good thing. So, but Zach, your thoughts?
well, if we're talking about low budget horror guys, I like James Wan better, who did
Mhm.
Aquaman.
Yeah.
So,
Well, now here's the thing. Safran works more on the producer side rather than the director side, so I think that's where he's going to fit in. Where he's going to fit in more so than being a creative. He's the financial guy, whereas Gunn
well,
is the creative.
gotcha.
So
Well, what I found kind of off-putting was the fact that James Gunn was seeming to take ownership of most of the projects mentioned in the upcoming slate, which to me
yeah,
is a concern. You know, it's like when Kevin Feige is doing all these movies, he takes a certain degree of ownership, but he's not saying my project. He is a back end guy. He's a
hmm,
CEO. So
yes.
do we want a CEO really getting involved in the nitty gritty of every individual project? Especially, and let me say, I think Kevin Feige has more mainstream taste than James Gunn does. So that's an important factor too.
That is true. And I've heard some. I heard your comments. I've heard some other people make the similar comment. I do get that. I do get that reservation. I do get that concern of Gunn saying, "I'm deeply invested in this. I'm a big fan of this." It's great that he is a fan of this, but I don't want his fingerprints on everything. I want to see different fingerprints on every project. And I imagine that is going to be probably the case. The thing I get from Gunn, and particularly watching that, and I've watched that announcement a couple of times now. I think he's trying to put the best foot forward because I think he feels that the DC fandom or the general public has been a little bit burnt by the previous regimes, the previous administrations, and so on. He's trying to, I think, bridge the gap between the public and the studio. And he does have a lot of goodwill. I mean, you look at his projects, particularly for Marvel, and particular with Guardians of the Galaxy, and obviously with Peacemaker. People enjoyed Peacemaker. I didn't get a chance to finish Peacemaker, but from what I did see, I did very much enjoy it. I did enjoy Suicide Squad, and the the impression I got from his pitch and from how he was wording things is he's like, I'm trying to do what's best for this studio that I've just become the co-head of. So I do think we will see other people involved. Obviously, we'll see other people involved. This is not going to be a one man band project. He can't do it all. I mean, the man is obviously talented, but he can't do everything. So, um, for me, it's as with everything, it's a wait and see game. That's kind of why I'm doing the stream tonight. I mean, because I don't, Zach, I don't do movie news. I don't do entertainment news very often. But this is one and everything that involves a director, a creative that I like. And I was like, you know what? This is one time I'm going to do this. And I haven't streamed in like almost a month, it feels like. And I wanted to do something where I could just kind of get my thoughts out there, open up the door, and talk with my friends. So, and speaking of friends, Keely Chow. Keely, it has been a very long time. Good to see you, bud. And hope you're having a good night. So, but of the slate of stuff that Gunn did announce, Zach, or anything, what piqued your interest and what was kind of not so much?
Well, I mean, most of them kind of didn't do much for me. The
Mm-hmm.
main one that interested me is probably the one that nobody is going to go and see, which is Swamp Thing, which is to me kind of has the DC written all over it. And when you talk about James Gunn, what the thing is for me is he really a good fit for DC, which is dark and gritty? You know,
Mm-hmm.
is he really that guy? He's more of like the fun comic book guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think depending on the project, he could potentially be the right fit. And I think we will still see a dark and gritty tone and tenor for DC, the DCU for DC Studios going forward. But you might see some other types of fare mixed in there as well. I mean, if you look at a couple of projects like the Creature Commandos, that's definitely going to be something that's going to be a little more on the lighter side of things. Um, I think the one project or anything of the ones that I listed over on Twitter, Lanterns has me the most interested. That and the Authority. Now, like I mentioned before you came in, I know nothing about the Authority, but I'm going to do my research because just the name evokes an idea of something that could be potentially very, very dark, very gritty, as you described it. And if it's based on, it's obviously based on a comic property and everything that obviously piqued Gunn and Safran's interest. I wish I'd had the time to. I wish I'd made the time to do the research on that particular group within the DC universe. Unfortunately, I didn't. But Lanterns and the Authority are definitely my top two want to sees for this open slate of the new DCU.
Yeah, well, the one that you mentioned that you didn't research, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's nothing until they make it something. You know what I mean? These are
That's true.
not known IPs. They can essentially do whatever they want. And I would even support
Yeah.
whatever they do as long as it's good. You know, no matter what, you're going to have comic book people saying, hey, you changed this or that. If it's a dead IP, does it really matter? I don't think so. I don't think it does.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, it's okay. All right. All right, here we go. Just type it into Google, it gives you what you want to know. Obviously it's a DC property. It was created in 1999 by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch. It follows the adventures of the Authority, a superhero team mainly composed of Ellis created characters from Stormwatch. Okay. Hang on here. Let's see. Let's go down this rabbit hole. All right. The characters that are in the Authority is the Doctor, Swift, Apollo, Jenny Spark, Midnighter, the Engineer, and Jack Hawksmoor. I'm gonna bring up this image because this is actually a cool looking image. See if I can make it bigger. That's what she said. Sorry, bad joke. Come on. Try and make display image. You like the image, but the picture isn't that big. So give me just a minute here. Okay, where is it? There it is. I don't know how well you can see this image, but it's actually a pretty. interesting group, or look, interesting looking group, I should say. So, all right, let's. Okay, here we go. Let's see. This article contains excessive amounts of intricate detail. Okay. This is actually from Ellis and Hitchinson's run. One of the reasons I turned their Stormwatch into the authorities, I found out that despite the fact that no one was buying Stormwatch, they kept going. They kept it going because they liked reading it in the Wildstorm office and wanted to keep me employed. Okay, so this is a really, really obscure group or anything within the DC universe. But Warren Ellis, he's got a good reputation. So as a comics guy and everything, he's done some good stuff in his career, from my understanding. I've even seen some of his stuff on bookshelves and so on. So it should be interesting. I mean, like you said, it's going to be what they make it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the
But
superhero team thing is getting a little bit redundant for me. I mean, do we really want that
yeah,
again? Man, it's like we just reviewed last time we were here the X-Men movies. I like those, but we're gonna have the Fantastic Four. We've got the Avengers. We've got the Justice League. Come on, man. I don't know. I'm getting burnt out. Do I want to, you know, be introduced to an
do you want
entirely
another
new team? Not
team?
really. The Suicide Squad. We've got too many of these.
Well, the big issue, Zach, is in the DC universe in particular, is that a lot of the characters are team based characters. It isn't necessarily a lot of individuals. I mean, if you think about it, the first real superhero team, quote unquote, was the JSA, the Justice Society of America, or the Justice League. I mean, the one that everybody knows is the Justice League. And they just kind of spun off different teams from there. I mean, you've got so many iterations of the Justice League, of the Justice Society, of the Avengers. I mean, even in the Fantastic Four, you've had different replacement characters. I mean, you had She-Hulk for a little while, you had Spider-Man be a member of the Fantastic Four. So the team dynamic within comics has been something that's gone on for a long time. I get what you're saying. I really
Well,
do.
let
I
me
understand
put it
everything.
to you this way: is it going to be better than X-Men?
Depends on which X-Men.
There's no way it can be, right? We just had the what's the one from Black Adam?
The Justice Society of America with Dr. Fate, Hawk Girl, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher.
And I mean, out of all those characters, you have maybe one interesting one.
The only one that I was even remotely interested in, and I haven't even seen the movie, was Dr. Fate, and that was because it was played by Pierce Brosnan. Now, I will
Right.
say, Dr. Fate is a character that I've always been interested in the DC universe, and everything, even before they did the whole. I mean, when he had his appearances on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, some of my favorite episodes because he's a really intriguing, interesting character. And obviously, Pierce Brosnan. How can you not like Pierce Brosnan? The guy is an absolute beast of an actor. But I say this jokingly, but also not so much jokingly. I was recently in Walmart, the same one I used to work at, and I went by their video section, and not amazingly, the top shelf of the video display shelf is still packed to the gills with black copies of Black Adam. Nobody's buying it.
Well, nobody should buy anything. I mean, you can get everything on the internet.
Well,
Hey,
we've
I'll
had,
just throw it out there. Go to solarmovie.com. There you go.
I do not nor endorse nor not endorse this site that Zach just mentioned.
Well, here's the other thing: is you can't charge $18 for a DVD like you used to. You just can't.
No, that's true. You
That's what they
can't.
try to do. Yeah, nobody's going to pay
That's
that.
true.
$5, sure, for a brand new film, sure, but beyond that, what's the point?
True. But at the same time, I like my physical media. Call me wacky.
Yeah, so do I,
But
but not for $18.
it depends on what kinds of bells and whistles you give me. If you give me some good extras, then yeah, I'll gladly pay that much. If you're gonna give me crappy extras, not so much. But let me ask, or how much of you are how much of a gamer are you? Are you a little? Are you a
Yeah,
lot? Or are you not at all?
I am
Well,
proficient.
okay. Well, how do you feel about the idea of them tying the video games into the main continuity of what they're going to be doing with the DCU? Do you think it's a
It's
good
not a
idea? Go ahead.
yeah, okay. So yeah, it's not a bad idea. Um I don't so the video games have really kind of been the major hit over the last few years with the Batman Arkham games. And
Mm-hmm.
they have been
I played those. Mm-hmm.
universally praised. Like there's not a bad word about them you can find. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Go and talk to the people who wrote those games. Maybe they can help you out.
And here's the thing: they have got the resources at their disposal already. They just need to start putting the ideas together for the stories within these games that they want to tell and make good games. I mean, I played 3 out of the 4 or 5 Arkham games. The only ones I did not play were Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight. I never got a chance to play those 2, but I did play Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. Love those games. Absolutely, the
Really good.
stories, yeah. Yeah. And if they can deliver, I'll say it. If they could deliver a Green Lantern game, I mean either with Hal Jordan or John Stewart, that would be really entertaining and a lot of fun, I'd play it. I would. I'd
Sure.
I'd absolutely play it. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the DCU going forward because they have got a lot of foundation to lay. I mean, they've got a little bit already, but they've got a lot of foundation to lay. They have got a lot of they've got to win back the fans. That's going to be the hardest thing. And
100%.
I've heard you talk about that, and we've discussed it and everything both publicly and privately. You know, I even said before you came in, I want the DCU to do well. I always said I wanted the DCU to do well, not just because I felt bad or anything, or I had some sort of remorse or sympathy because I'm a Marvel fan, and from my perspective as a Marvel fan, I've been eating very well. But competition is healthy. Competition brings out the best in people oftentimes. And it's competition that pushes you to bring your A game each and every single time. And if you slip up, the other guy is going to get you. I want to see that. I said that from the jump and everything when the MCU started, when Marvel Studios started, and when DC Studios started. Put these two head to head and let's see what they can do. Unfortunately, the DC Studios of old, they were sporadic as hell. Now, I've listened to a couple of video essays today in terms of what went wrong with the DCEU and what was right. There wasn't a whole lot that was said that was good about the DCEU, and Black Adam was one of the was like this is the cherry on the crap sundae, literally.
Yeah, sort of. Well, the thing is, the scary thing for me is Marvel is somehow now doing dark and gritty better than DC. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when they did Infinity War, that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
what fans of DC have been wanting for years. I mean, the last major hit that DC had was The Dark Knight Rises back in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been like over like 11 years since we've had a universally praised hit, and which was kind of a soft hit at the time. I mean, The Dark Knight 2008, DC was on top of the world in terms of
Mm-hmm.
quality, everything. I mean, that's one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah.
So I don't
I
know, man.
remember.
You said Marvel people are eating well. I agree with you, but DC people are starving to death. and have been for a long time.
Yeah.
Their movies make money, right? The BVS made money. I think it made $1 billion, but it was critically panned across the board. Nobody really liked it. You had obviously a sect of people who were devout, but that's like
Mm-hmm.
what 25% of the audience, if that.
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. And it's, for me, Marvel has one thing that I always appreciated. As I've said, grew up reading Marvel comics. It had the IPs, it had the characters I was invested in, and it had the tone and tenor that I enjoyed. DC, it was sporadic. Sometimes I would read a DC comic, and it was really good, and I really enjoyed it. And if I would get a run or I get a story arc and everything, and then I would pick up the next issue, and I'd be like, I don't like this. I'm going to stop. But Marvel, it was always consistently. It always hit its stride. It was always entertaining. It was always on point. So, but I do want to say hello to another good friend, another fellow ambassador, Mr. Ferris of Ferris Geeks World. Ferris, good evening, bud.
Yo,
Hey, Ambassador. Hey, Zach. How you guys doing?
Doing
good man.
okay, Ferris? How are you? So, Ferris, I know you've heard me and Zach and just me chewing the fat for almost an hour now. So, your thoughts on James Gunn's announcement earlier this week?
Well, honestly, I'm a little bit excited though because
Mm-hmm.
I think he cut out.
Ferris, you
You
there?
still there?
announced like since probably around I don't know. I think around 2014 when during the DCEU time before the whole studio interference thing become a bit fiasco-ish. But now
Mm-hmm.
now that James Gunn is head of I am really like looking forward to like what he's gonna do with Green Lantern because I love what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, and I know he's pretty much a sci-fi guy, but
Mm-hmm.
honestly though, I think that's probably the only thing that I'm really excited for. And let's not forget that Brave and the Bold also, it got me really hyped because I've been dying for another, Batman and Robin movie type.
Yeah. I said this the other night and everything. It was in the chat on Tim's stream and everything. I want a Robin that can handle
I
himself. I
was kind
want
of
a
shocked
Robin
when
that.
James Gunn said that Damian Wayne is his favorite Robin. But honestly, though, I don't mind it as long as we get a good, Batman and Robin story. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm when Damian Wayne first came out, I'm not really a big fan of it because I'm still into, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim
Mhm.
Drake. I think Tim Drake is like my favorite Robin because I grew up with the animated series era. But
Mhm.
but now seeing that Damian Wayne gets his due, like. Yeah, you know what? Oh, whatever. I want to see like the whole father-son story thing, coming to life. I mean, it got me a bit hyped though because it's based on Grant Morrison's.
Grant Morrison's run. Yeah. Zach, let me ask you. Where are you on? What's your stance on Robin? Who's your favorite Robin, if you have one?
See, I got shit on. I was on Tim's show, and people were very taken aback. My favorite Robin is Girl Robin from
The Dark
Dark
Knight
Knight
Returns.
Returns. So these,
No.
so in terms of comics, this is I've got two holy grails for Marvel and
Mhm.
DC. I was going to imitate Ferris's profile picture.
Avatar. Yeah.
So look, it's Infinity Gauntlet and Dark Knight Returns.
Have it.
That's for me the foundation of both of these IPs. So I don't know, man. I like Girl Robin because for me in that version,
Mhm.
at least Robin was necessary. If you're going to do Robin, Robin has to contribute to the team. Batman is a lone wolf. You've got to give the character a reason, Robin, a reason
Mhm.
to exist. It's like, does Batman need a sidekick? He doesn't. In Dark Knight Returns, he did. So Robin
Yeah,
has to
because
provide some kind of dynamic to help the team. Otherwise, there's no point.
personally, I mean, in terms of Robins, the one I liked best was obviously Dick Grayson from the animated series. I like that one the best. I think that's the one I'll always, anything I'll always connect with. But I've done my research on Damian Wayne as this new Robin and everything. And the interesting thing is, this is actually Bruce's son. This is his son through Talia al Ghul. And the difference between this Robin compared to the others, he's already a badass. He's already a skilled assassin, trained by his mother, trained by the League of Shadows, trained to kill. No, Zach, you're good. Nope, Zach, you're good, bud. But that's what I like about this new Robin. He doesn't need to be babysat by dad. He can kick some ass. He can kill if he has to, and he's not afraid to kill because he is as I said, a trained assassin. And I think this is going to be a very interesting dynamic or anything going with this particular movie, The Brave and the Bold, or anything Batman, The Brave and the Bold. No, it doesn't sound like a soap opera title. It sounds like
does.
okay, maybe it does a little. But I don't think that's actually their intent. So.
No, it's I don't know. I just hate that title. It reminds me of the cartoon, which I was definitely not a fan of.
That particular
Wait,
cartoon...
you don't like the cartoon?
Fuck no.
I mean, I'm a bit picky on the episode though, because there are some episodes that are good. I mean, I love that episode where Batman finally confronts Joe Chill, the man who killed his parents. I thought that was like really dark. That was the only time that the show got really dark.
I never saw it. No, they put me off with like the Need for Speed episode where they did the Ambassador. They took the script of Need for Speed and did an episode with a race, and all the bad guys and good guys were racing each other for a prize. I said, "What the fuck am I doing?" So yeah, they had what's the little mini bat guy, Scrappy Doo,
Batmite.
What the fuck?
Oh, Batmite.
No, that's not.
No, I never cared for
Batmite
either. Don't feel bad on that.
No, and
I never cared for Batmite.
That
my favorite
character was only worked during the Silver Age. Sorry, that character was only worked during the Silver Age. I mean, I think like if you're going to like kids of today, it's fine. But for us adults, it doesn't work. I mean, I'm glad that I'm glad that we're all like grew up with the animated series and show how dark that show was and how psychological, how very psychological the show is. Thanks to Kevin Conroy and Bruce Timm and Andrea Romano, or creating that show. But Silver Age stuff, I never read any Silver Age stuff, because I grew up with the Bronze Age and the modern age of today.
I think if I like dropped acid, I could get into the show probably, but it's not for me, So I watched something called Magic Man, or not Magic Man, Music Man. Do you remember that one, Ferris? Maybe he stepped away. Yeah, well, that was a dude.
Music Man, you say?
Yeah, do you remember that?
I don't think I'm familiar with that. No.
So he would sing, and this is an episode of the show. Maybe it was a two-part, and he would sing, and his music would mind control people. So I'm like, I don't know, man. It was a little too goofy for me. So I've watched a few of them, but it just, not for me.
It almost sounds like a animated version of the Adam West series.
Sorta, yeah.
So,
it's like Eggman. Are you an Eggman fan?
Oh my! I remember Eggman. Oh my god! Why was he created though?
It's a long time ago. It's like
I think
60s.
he was created. I think he was created specifically for the Adam West series. And of course, he's played by one of mine and Zach's favorite actors, the late great Vincent Price. So, the thing I'm hopeful for with the new DCU is that they finally get to some form of consistency where it isn't everything is just a jumbled, confusing mess. That for me is the biggest thing. What's this? Okay.
Well, can I just say one thing though?
Sure.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Even though that we get Superman and Batman again on the big screen, and now Batman has his Robin, Damian Wayne. I'm still like a bit iffy with the direction. Like for instance, like Henry Cavill is not hired. I'm still can't get over that kind of fact. And Ben Affleck, that Ben Affleck is kind of get tired. Working with Warner Brothers with this whole studio interference thing. Because
Mm-hmm.
he's always been like creative freedom with his stuff like The Town and Argo. I love The Town and Argo. um
Mm-hmm.
but again, like the thing that really caught me off guard is like keeping Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, and I can't believe they're really keeping Ezra Miller in it, but they didn't even get like Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill back. I'm still kind of I'm still kind of like confused, like what is going on and all that thing. I know that James Gunn wanted to do like a 25-year-old Superman, and Batman is like in his late 30s with finally getting Robin again after like so long from
Mm-hmm.
from like 20 plus years ago. But now that we're having a new head, and we're not getting like some of the actors again, I'm still kind of like getting a bit like confused, like what is going on. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're keeping Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, and Ezra Miller, why not do the same thing for Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck? Because they're all like the fan favorites by now. And I'm kind of like confused on that part. But I know that Wonder Woman 3 is canceled, and they're doing like a Amazon TV series, at like an Amazon, not
Yeah,
Amazon, the
Paradise
streaming service. Yeah, Paradise
Paradise
Lost.
Lost.
I mean, I read the I read the story. It's a really good story, to be honest. It's a
Mm-hmm.
really good story, and I'm glad they're adapting that into like into the TV universe, not the TV universe, but the DCU for a TV
Yeah, the
spin-off or a T. Yeah,
the streaming series. Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that they get that part, but then again, James Gunn said that the door is still open for Gal Gadot and Ezra Miller to come back, and I heard that Jason Momoa is still gonna come back for Aquaman. Even
Yeah.
like Levi,
Mm-hmm.
what about like I'm still confused. Like, if you're keeping some of these actors, why not keep all the other actors? Like, I'm so confused on that part. Or why not just, if you want to keep the same actors, just give them different roles? Or why not just recast the entire Justice League, and that's about it? I'm still kind of gonna get confused on that part. Like, this should have been like a
Well,
reboot universe. That's what I've been thinking.
well, it is a reboot, but it also they're carrying some things over. But here's the thing: they are keeping certain actors and actresses on board, but they may not necessarily do the same role that they've done before. I don't know if there is another character that Gal Gadot could potentially play. I mean, there might be another character she's interested in. I mean, obviously, Paradise
I like
Lost
to
is
see
going to
her
tie
as
into.
I
Go
like
ahead.
to see her. I don't know why. I like to see her if she can play. If she could play Poison Ivy, I thought she'll be sexy as Poison Ivy.
Mm, maybe that is a possibility. That's I don't know how I feel about her playing a villain. I'm not opposed to it. It would just have to be the right material for her, because you'd almost have to write her as a sympathetic villain. And there's been so many of those. I know that the character of Pamela Isley, aka Poison Ivy, is somewhat of a sympathetic villain or villainous, but I don't know if Gal Gadot is the right fit for that, honestly. Now, as far as Jason Momoa goes, obviously he'll be back for Aquaman 3 if there is an Aquaman 3. I know there have been rumors about him possibly playing Lobo or whatever the case, or he might be up for something completely different. And you know what? That's fine. I think I think what Gunn and Safran and the few others that are working with them at DC Studios are doing, they're picking the actors that resonated well with the public and with the fan base. And Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, and even I'm not even going to bring him up. Those two in particular, they resonated well with the public and with the fans. Obviously, Henry Cavill has gone on to work on Warhammer, the Warhammer universe over there at Amazon. I say, hey, more power to him. I hope he does well with it. Ben Affleck's going to be doing whatever Ben Affleck's doing. He's remarried. He's married to J-Lo now. And everything, he's living his life. They've talked about maybe bringing him on to direct something. And I say, you know what? Hey, he's been in front of the camera enough. Let him work behind the camera because he is a damn good director. Very good. So I'm not opposed to seeing some of these actors or these creatives work in different worlds, not just be plugged back into the same one that they already inhabited. Because you want to give them an opportunity to play different parts, to be able to use their talents in different ways, not just do the same thing over and over again. I mean, I'll give you a prime example, and I think this is very applicable here. Look at Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. At first, she was all in for it. But by the time of Dark Phoenix, she was done. She was phoning it in because she was tired of playing Mystique. And I can understand that. I mean, when you've played a character for so long and you're not given anything new to do with that character, it's going to get boring and you're not going to give your best performance and you're not going to bring your A game. That's the thing here. And I think also they have the opportunity to tell new stories, to tell interesting stories that will hopefully resonate with the public and with the fans. Now, I'm a very I'm a very middle of the road DC fan. Obviously, as I've said, I'm more Marvel. So for me, it isn't going to be the end of my world or anything if these movies or these shows don't get everything 100% right, because I'm not as invested in DC as I am Marvel. But I do want to see good content from this universe. I want to see these characters portrayed well and given good stories and everything to be involved in. That for me is the main thing with Gunn and Safran being in charge here. Safran obviously is the money guy. He's the production. He's the producer. He's the one that's going to pull all the strings to get all these things together. Gunn and the rest of the other creatives, the other writers, the other directors, and whoever else is brought on board, they're going to be the ones that tell these stories. It's just a matter of getting all their ducks in a row so that they can do it. Blue Beetle, that was the other project that's coming out this year. I completely forgot about it because I just don't care about Blue Beetle. And yes, I know that's probably going to trigger or tick somebody off. But anyway, Ferris, anything that I just mentioned, or anything that you want to bounce off of, or anything you want to bring up?
It finally took long enough to finally get ahead of of a movie studio based on these iconic characters from DC Comics, because like for so long, like Warner Brothers have always like picked people who does one character at a time. I mean, you have producers like the Saul Kynes who did the Superman movies before, and you have Tim Burton who basically directed two Batman movies with other producers working behind him, like John Peters and Peter Guber, then later on Denise Denolvi and Batman Returns, and then another one like Peter McGregor Scott, who did Batman Forever and then Batman and Robin, and going to the Nolan trilogy with Christopher Nolan and Emma Thomas producing those movies. And we haven't seen the rest of the other DC characters done, right? I mean, we almost got like Zack Snyder, doing his DCEU back then, but we all know that stuff didn't work because of studio interference. And now finally, like with James Gunn and Peter Safran, like you can probably get like good content and all that stuff, but then again, there are some fans are totally divided on in this, and I'm a bit on the middle, to be honest. I'm kind of a bit on the middle because they keep some actors, but again, they threw out some actors, and I read the whole Henry Cavill case, saying that he was dicked around by movie studios. Yeah, I kind of like blame those regimes who did Henry Cavill dirty. Heck, sometimes I could even blame Warner Brothers for doing Superman dirty, because Batman has always been Warner Brothers' golden boy, or DC's golden boy. But honestly wanted to see all of these characters treated right, and it took like, I don't know, like many decades to finally happening like right now. Yeah, but we finally like get a lot of diversity in casting, and like you forgot to mention Blue Beetle that is coming out like this year. I'm looking forward to that because they adapted the character of Jaime Reyes, who is like I think he was sorry, I think he was like the third Blue Beetle, because there's the Blue Beetle in the Golden Age, there's the Silver Age, and the Modern Age. Because Jaime, he's the Latin guy, the Mexican guy, or whichever. Like he's Latino, to be honest. Like we finally get a Latino superhero on the big screen, and I think that's a huge win for DC getting their Latin superhero. I don't know if Marvel has done their Latin superhero before on their MCU. I don't know, but I'm getting excited for that though, because they're gonna get like a lot of the characters that has not been made on screen yet, and Blue Beetle is one of them. Not to mention the first Latin superhero, like finally, like
Mhm.
we Marvel already got like their Asian superhero with Shang-Chi. That's really cool. And now DC is bringing in the Latin world, which is really cool. And another example, Marvel bringing like Miss Marvel, first Pakistani superhero or superheroine, I would say. But again, for good content, I'm really excited for good content. And again, like you said, like there's always have to be the creative side, and there always have to be the business side. And like you said, it's really true that like they need to bring something good, good for business and good content, and that's exactly what they're doing. And uh, I'm excited for it, but then again, there are some things that I don't agree with, some of the directions or some of their decisions that they make. That's for me though.
Well, that's going to be true with anybody. I mean, like I said, everything that Gunn announced the other day, I was like, I'll probably pass on it. And I'll just say this: the reason I'm not all that interested in Blue Beetle is because it's just a character I'm not particularly interested in, regardless of his iteration or his ethnicity. That doesn't necessarily play into my enjoyment or my non-enjoyment of a character. I just don't know the character that well, and therefore I'm just going to pass because it's just not something I want to I want to particularly watch. And it's for me the characters that I always identify with DC is, as some people call it, the Trinity. For me, there's only one Trinity, but we're not going to get into religion here. It's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. But if you think about the only of the three of those three characters, what is the one that's the most recognizable? What's the one that has the most broad um, recognition? Batman, obviously. I mean, the top two superheroes or anything that everybody mentions in one breath is Batman and Spider Man. Those are the two characters everybody knows. Even if you're not a comic book person, some random person asks you on the street, "Can you name two superheroes?" It's gonna be Batman and Superman, Batman and Spider Man, and maybe and probably Superman too. Wonder Woman's going to be a close or a distant third or fourth, even. Marvel, or not Marvel, but DC has a lot of characters, both individual and team based, that the public has never heard of. And the one thing that I will say DC has had the hardest time doing is marketing these characters, marketing these movies, and even at times marketing these streaming or television series. And you look at some of the marketing that they've done in the past for some of these characters, some of these projects, wherever the medium might be. And it has been either lackluster or just utterly confusing and tonally a mess. Just a complete and utter mess. Like, what the hell is this? Why should I go see this? This is why Black Adam is still sitting on a shelf at probably Walmart and Target both. And probably sitting on a shelf in an Amazon warehouse somewhere. And it's not because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is a crummy actor. He's a okay actor. He's not ever going to win an Oscar in his career. That's for darn sure. But the character of Black Adam is a character that no one really knows anything about. If you don't give people to have a reason to be invested in a character, they're not going to care. And the only way you're going to grow any type of connection is by promotion. You have to promote the character. You have to give background on the character. You have to give the public, the non-fan base public, a reason why they want to go out and spend their hard-earned money to see this movie or buy this game or whatever the case may be. And DC oftentimes has completely and utterly failed. I mean, let's be honest, Ferris, and I'm asking you this. Can you name the last successful marketing campaign for a DC property? And let's stick to movies specifically, where the movie ended up doing well.
I would probably say Aquaman, though. Yeah, that's probably like the biggest success ever. Because for one thing is this though, Aquaman has been made fun for years, and that is because of the Super Friends. Because people who I'm glad that people who got into the Aquaman comic knows he's not a really weak superhero, because Super Friends is the reason that Aquaman is being made fun of, because he only talks to fish. That was his only power. Even though he has like super strength, he has he has like regeneration, he has strong skin and all that. Like, I'm glad that he finally gets his due on the big screen, because of Jason Momoa with his charm and charisma. That is the one thing that really got Aquaman success, and I'm glad that the marketing was really success and the movie made like $1 billion. A good thing that happened. But that is the one thing that got it right, though. There are sometimes, like, when movies are really like over marketed, that didn't go right. Like, for example, Suicide Squad, for example, the first one. I don't know if you seen it or not, because Suicide Squad was Suicide Squad was very overhyped, and yet somehow it still made money, but there are some things that people are disappointed about, and that is the third act. And then somehow, when I found out that the third act was actually a reshoot, that was not like the original third act that the David Ayer, the director of Fury, had in mind originally for the third act, because it was going to be involve around Jared Leto's Joker. And honestly, though, some people really hated Leto's Joker. Even, like, our majority of people hate Jared Leto's Joker. But honestly, though, I think he should have been given a better material and a better look. I mean, I love Jared Leto as an actor. I mean, I love, like, his first movie role, and he was in that horror slasher movie, Urban Legends. God, that was like that movie still terrifies me as a kid. But he wasn't playing a villain that time. But the one performance that really caught my eye for Jared Leto was Requiem for a Dream, and then later on there was Dallas Buyers Club, where he plays a trans. That was insane. Yeah, so that's about it for me, though.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anyway, I watched the trailers for Suicide Squad, and I was like, no. I was like, I'm gonna pass on. And then I did hear about all the issues that the film had, the reshoots and the whole air cut and yada 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 and all that mess. And it didn't pique my interest. It was a group of characters I really didn't care about. Now, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the Suicide Squad, the one that James Gunn did, it had some actors I liked. Obviously, it had Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, obviously back as Harley Quinn. You had Michael Rooker as Savant, even though he got killed in the beginning. You had John Cena as Peacemaker, and I mean, it was an interesting cast of characters. It was an interesting story, and it was a movie I ended up really enjoying. And I mean, obviously, the big draw for me was James Gunn because he was coming off of that whole hullabaloo about some tweets that were supposedly offensive or whatever the case may be. That's got certain corners of social media branding him as a P file. And sorry, making a bad joke doesn't make you one of those things. It doesn't work that way. But it's okay. Guys, and I do want to thank Zach and Ferris and everything. They both had to scoot. They both had to go to work tonight. Unlike me, it's the weekend. I'm off. But it's for me. You all know I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I try to give people a chance before they disappoint me. James Gunn has not disappointed me in terms of the films that he has made in his career. He hasn't disappointed me. And until he disappoints me, I'm going to continue to give the guy a chance. And it boils down to one simple fact. Am I going to give these movies a chance? Am I going to give these streaming series a chance as time goes on? Yeah, the ones that interest me, I will definitely check out. And just a brief aside. Some of y'all might be wondering why I never did a review for Thor Love and Thunder or Wakanda Forever. Ma'am and Bam Ambassador, we're going to do those together and everything as a couples review. Unfortunately, she's been kind of under the weather with some various health issues. Nothing life-threatening or anything, but we just never got a chance to, and we didn't feel by the time we got around to watching them, it was necessarily warranted a review because so many other people had done reviews already. And I want to dedicate my time for this channel to projects that interest me. They're going to be good, are going to be engaging for not just myself, but for you all as well. Are going to offer some fresh insights, to offer some different takes than what you might hear in other parts of social media and the internet and YouTube and whatever. And, James Gunn is a director that through the films that I have seen and that I own, he never disappointed me. And I'm sure there are going to be other directors that work with him and Peter Safran in the DCU going forward and DC Studios going forward. And there might be some movies and stuff that come out that people will tell me, "Hey, Ambassador, go check this out." And I'll take it on a case by case basis. But I'm not going to just dismiss someone out of hand because they made one stupid remark. They made one stupid mistake. And when I say a stupid mistake, I mean one where no one got legitimately hurt. Where they said or did something or anything that someone else was offended by. So, and if y'all are hearing any alarms on my end, everything is fine. There's some sort of celebration going on outside our house, so I do apologize. So I might just mute for a minute until this passes. So talk amongst yourselves for just a minute, and we'll be right back as soon as this whole mess passes by. Okay, there. The parade's gone by. Anyway, a couple other things I want to say before we start to wrap up for the evening. For those of you who follow me, you may have noticed I have finally crossed the 500 subscriber mark. And as I have promised, and I will put something on my community tab and on my social media, here in a week or so, we will have the big 500 subscriber blowout stream and everything. And I do want to let you all know what all that's going to entail. That is going to entail my first giveaway. And it is going to be for a movie that I dearly love that I'm going to purchase. And we are going to do a giveaway for. Everything in that film, of course, is The Fifth Element, one of my all-time favorite films from the 1990s. And how we're going to play this thing, we are going to have a drawing, but a very special one, because I'm going to do something that I said once I crossed a certain milestone in terms of subscribers, I would do. We are going to do a name reveal. My name. Not full name, just first name. We're going to do a first name reveal for yours truly. And if you want to be entered into the drawing, you have to guess my name. First name. Now, if we've talked privately, you already know my first name, well, unfortunately, you don't qualify for the drawing. Sorry. It's not fair to everybody else if you already know what my first name is. But we will be doing a drawing for a copy of The Fifth Element, either on 4K or Blu-ray or 4K or whatever the case may be, wherever I can get it on. And whoever wins, whoever guesses my first name correctly, you win. Simple as that. We will also be doing a watch along for another favorite movie of mine from the 1990s, Galaxy Quest. I did a review for that film a couple of years ago, and I said whenever I finally hit 500 subscribers, we would do a watch along for that film as well. So, like I said, I'll post all this information on my social media and everything, and on my community tab on my channel here. But I do want to say most sincerely and gratefully, thank you to all of you who have supported me, who have been a part of this channel, who have been a part of this community, who have stuck it out with me, whether I've been streaming every single day, every other days, or I've gone a few weeks or anything like I have recently because of, well, when life goes sideways, you have to cut some of the fat, at least and temporarily, and so that you can survive. StreamYard was something I had to cut, at least temporarily, until we got on our feet again financially. But I will be streaming. It will be on a different schedule, different model, and everything. But the content will not change. Everything. It might be more of a weekend based model rather than on a weekday. Everything, unless I do like something in the morning or afternoons or anything when I get home from work before I get some rest and everything for my next shift or whatever the case may be. I will be doing more uploads or anything because those I can record and then upload. As you've all noticed, I'm also doing shorts. And I'm doing shorts of me and Mam Ambassador's collection of our favorite things and everything. If you've seen the one that said, "Behold my stuff," and everything, I have gotten it where I'm really enjoying the shorts. I did one recently and everything. It was my top 5 favorite movies from 1989 and everything. And that one, has done well. I'm happy that that type of content is something that y'all are enjoying and something y'all are watching, and I will continue to do those as well. But I also want to let y'all know about a couple of things that I will be starting to work on more in earnest now that we are back on our feet financially, and we're putting together our schedule of content. That is, of course, Project Ultra Retro. I have mentioned this a few times, but I want to put this out here now. I've already done a few entries, but Project Ultra Retro is going to be a video and streaming series that involves film from the 1930s through the 1970s. You might ask, why those years? Because those years contain a lot of the films that were very formative for me, were formative for a lot of other people. And they're not just retro, they're ultra retro. I mean, this is the time of black and white. This is the time of Technicolor. This is the time of the big budget epics and so on. And we'll be covering a little bit of everything from the really well known stuff of those years to the more obscure. Um, Eventually, I will be putting together a group. I already have a few people that are interested, and we will be doing reviews for the Orville. And I just want to say to Hulu and Disney, renew Orville for season 4, please, for heaven's sake. Let's get this show on the road. But that's what the future of the ambassadorial wing is looking like. And I think you might, for those of you who might be wondering, why have I kind of steered away from less of the pop culture discussion to more of a film and streaming series um, content structure? Because it's what interests me and it's what I feel other people are interested in. It's stuff that people have expressed interest in discussing. So this channel isn't just for me to get on here and ramble about. It's for the people I talk with on a regular basis. It is for the people that I don't talk to very often, but say, "Hey, Ambassador, I'd like to work with you on this." And I want to say this to everybody is watching this now, or will catch us on the replay. Whether you've been on this channel once or you've been on this channel 100 times, potentially, if you want to work with me, reach out to me. If you have a project that you want to, if you have a film, if you have a TV series, if you have a streaming series, whatever the case may be, if you want to work with me, my door is always open. My DMs are always open, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or even on here. I have my community tab. I post something, by all means, comment on it. Because as I have said, if you're willing to have a constructive conversation, if you're willing to have a good laugh, at times either my expense or your own or just in general, and you believe in integrity, honesty, and have a good sense of humor, there will be a place for you here. But the one thing the things I will not tolerate are bullying, fakery, and being disingenuous. I think that's something we can all agree on here. At least if you have any measure of integrity to yourself. And I like to think that a lot of the people that watch this, a lot of you who watch this, have that mindset. I mean, that's the reason why I put the link whenever I go live, unless it's on a rare occasion where I want it to just be me in a particular group. That's why that link is there. So if you want to come in and you want to talk, you have the opportunity to do so. Because you hit that link. Yes, I am the ambassador, but so are you. That's why it's called the ambassadorial wing, because it's a space for lots of people, not just one or two guys or gals or whoever. So, But that is going to be the stream for tonight. I do want to thank my two friends, I think Zach Leary and Ferris of Ferris Geeks World, for joining me this evening. Make sure you go check out their channels and everything. I'll try and post the links to their channels. Zach has several. You can follow him on social media at the real Zach Leary. You can follow Ferris over on Instagram at Ferris Geeks World. But as always, if you enjoyed the stream, smash that like button. Leave your comments down below or anything with anything myself, Ferris, or Zach, or anything brought up this evening in regards to James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over at DC as the heads of DC Studios. And I do want to say, I think the future for DC Studios is very bright. I think they have the opportunity to give Marvel a run for their money. And that's not a bad thing. Because a little competition can only bring out the best in you. But until next time, everyone, stay ambassadorial. Be kind, be respectful, and always don't take yourself too seriously. I'll see you all next time. And until then, this is the... Hang on. I want to get this right. This is the Ambassador, signing off.